Hello dear students, welcome to one more session on transportation in human beings. Dear students, in this class I would like to explain the various steps which are there in the mechanism of human heart and its working. Would you believe that heart has 4 major valves that plays an important role during heartbeat or in the transportation process? Let us learn how the heart, which helps in the transportation process, we have to learn. Do you know that the heart has 4 major valves? Let us notice the 4 major valves here. This is tricuspid valve, whereas this one bicuspid valve, and this one aortic semilunar valve, and whereas here you can see here exactly in this location the pulmonary semilunar valve. These 4 valves which plays an important role in the transportation or in the mechanism and working of human heart. Dear students, today we are going to learn an important concept, that is cardiac cycle. So, how the heart able to pump the blood? How does the heart pumping oxygenated blood, receiving deoxygenated blood, and how the heart is able to contract and able to relax? For all these questions, we are going to find out the answers. What do you mean by systole? What do you mean by diastole? Dear students, can you define the systole and diastole? By the way, systole is a contraction phase, diastole is a relaxation phase. During mechanism of working of human heart, there are 3 major steps which are noticed. What are those 3 major steps? First one is atrial systole. The first one is atrial systole. Second one, ventricular systole. And third one, ventricular diastole. Time taken for ventricular atrial systole is 0.1 second. Time taken for ventricular systole 0.3 seconds. Time taken for ventricular diastole 0.4 seconds. Total together 0.8 seconds of time is required for one cardiac cycle. By the way, if you see carefully the heart chambers, you can see here this is the area which is called left atria, and here we can call it as left ventricle, and here you can see this is right ventricle, and here you can see right atria. So like this we can see various parts in the human heart, right? By the way, if you want to learn about atrial systole, What is the time taken for atrial systole? As we have discussed, it is 0.1 seconds. During atrial systole, atria are contracting. During the contraction of atria, they are going to receive the blood. Left atria going to receive, if you see the left atria going to receive oxygenated blood, right atria going to receive the deoxygenated blood which contains carbon dioxide and other gases. Now during atrial systole, the bicuspid valve and tricuspid valve, together called AV valves, they forcibly, if suppose during atrial systole, what are the changes occurs? From the atria, blood going to enters into the ventricles. 30% of the blood will filled inside the ventricles when AV valves kept opened. Here, when 30% ventricles filled with the blood which is present in the ventricles trying to enters into the atria once again. In this case, the AV valves forcibly closed and exerts the first heart sound called lub. Now, secondarily, ventricular systole occurs, which means the contraction phase of the ventricles is called ventricular systole. Time taken is 0.3 seconds. During ventricular systole, what will happen, you know? If ventricles contract, the blood from the ventricles enters into their respective passages. While the blood enters into their respective passages, immediately, slowly, the ventricular systole going to reduce. Now, after ventricular systole, ventricular diastole occurs, which means the relaxation phase of the ventricles is called ventricular diastole. During ventricular diastole, time taken is 0.4 seconds. During ventricular diastole, what will happen? Slowly, ventricular pressure going to fall. At that time, blood from their respective passages trying to enters into the ventricles again. At that time, semilunar valves slowly closes and exerts second heart sound called the dub. So, like this, lub and dub sounds are excited because of contractions and relaxations of the heart valves. We can call valves are helping to move the blood in a particular direction. They prevent the backward flow of blood, isn't it? So, this is the way at the end of the ventricular diastole. Again, SA node. Do you know SA node? SA node is present here at right atria. There is SA node, sino-auricular node called pacemaker, which generates action potential. When action potential generated, immediately what will happen? Because of this action potential, what will happen? The SA node transfers this action potential to AV node. Through this AV node, the action potential will move to bundle of His. Through this bundle of His, Purkinje fibers receive this action potential, and again the atrial systole will be started. In this way, heart works during the time of pumping of the blood. Do you know the mechanism of the heart can be understood by these three major steps? At the end of the ventricular diastole, again atrial systole started, cycle again will be repeated. I hope so everybody enjoyed the session, right? Let me say a few more points. The amount of blood that is pumped by the heart chambers for particular heartbeat in a given time of interval is called as the cardiac output. The normal cardiac output in humans is about, if 70 ml is the blood which is pumped by the heart for 72 heartbeats, and the value is 5040 ml, that is approximately 5 liters of blood pumped by the heart for one particular cycle. That's what I am trying to say. So anyway, this is about the cardiac cycle. In the next video, we are going to see one more important concept. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Be safe. Thank you.